Do you guys remember the Ascots?
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.
Well, hello, and welcome to My Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. And thank you for joining us tonight because you want to know what? We're not talking about whiskey. It is Repeal Day, the day they finally repealed an amendment that everyone was upset about, I believe, for almost about a decade. And then they got their liquor back. So we're drinking some liquor too, but we are going with fancy brandy, which is a little bit different because, I don't know, we've gone through enough whiskey and we have at least 6 or 7 samples that we need to go through tonight. And we figure this is a good time to talk about brandy and give you some tasting notes on what's going on with brandy because it is different, but there are a lot of distillers that have a heavy brandy making background, like those boys at the Iron Root shop down in Denison, Texas. They pulled a lot of their history from that, and I think it plays a big factor in some of the whiskey making because you can tell some of that background in the whiskey. Yes. But thanks to everyone in the chat. Thank you for stopping in. We really appreciate it. Mike, what do we tell those lovely people who are in the chat promptly right now?
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to find out when new episodes are come out. Comment it live in the chat now. Comment down below afterwards when you watch that video. And most every single Monday night is an Evening With series, and they are live.
That is exactly right. And Ben, what did we start off with here? This was a late edition. So what did we throw into the tasting room at the last second here?
We're throwing in a little bottle that's got a little history to it as well. Ooh. This is Ararat, like straight from the Bible, where supposedly Noah's Ark came to a rest. But it's an Armenian brandy. So all the grapes, all the distilling is done in Armenia. And this became famous during World War II, the meeting of the Conference of Yalta with Stalin and Churchill and all the major players there going on, and Stalin gifted Churchill a bottle of the Ararat Armenian brandy. At least this is how the legend goes. Churchill so fell in love with it that he ordered cases of it. I believe they had shipped 400 cases or 400 bottles a year he would have delivered to him in the UK, and Stalin made sure that he got his cases delivered of the Armenian brandy, even in the midst of all that was going on with World War II. So,
and it was rumored that he could finish off a bottle a day.
Yes.
So there was the 400 was not a rumor. That it came out at several points today. It wasn't quite like, who is the guy who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Hunter S. Thompson.
It wasn't quite a Hunter S. Thompson shit show over there that Churchill was running. So a little bit tighter.
You mean they weren't having pictures of Jesus on the wall?
I can't speak to what they were doing at that in particular juncture. But on this one, like we were saying, so this is a great brandy because we were saying that like whiskey is kind of a blanket cover term. Brandy is kind of a blanket cover term as well too, where it gets a lot of coverage, but it's not as exact as it could be in its phrasing. So this one is all grapes?
This one it's all white grapes. They don't specify what variety, but it's all Armenian grapes grown there. So,
and this is something I can, if Will from Whiskey Crusaders on, I think he would have a pretty interesting nose with some of the grapes that are coming off here and might be able to pull a varietal. I'm not. I can tell it's like a white grape.
Mm-hmm.
On the nose because it has that bright little bit of freshness, but it also has this nice little earthy tone where it feels like they almost ground up some of the stems as well too with it.
Yeah, get earthiness and rich plums and like a fresh raisin.
Yeah, I definitely get a plum and raisin note.
And then like a shot of apple.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it.
Apple and I'm getting like a buttered apple. It sounds weird, but like almost like an apple you would have like cooked down for like an apple pie or something like that, like beforehand, before you put the cover on. And that's what I'm getting off that. Oh, hey, Mrs. Chambers, how are you doing? It's good to see you. So,
I get some chocolate in there as well.
I think that mixes in with where I was getting that earthy note. Like, I think that it's just like this. That's the thing I was saying with Brandy. It seems like a lot of the flavors are tied together well, but most. How old is this one?
This one's a 10-year-old.
10-year-old. So, like with most brandies, you are not waiting 2, 3, 5 years. It's, to me, it seems like you're at least waiting like 10 to like into the 20-ish range when you start getting into some of them.
Right.
Well, they've got a really weird aging where it's letters. It's like one of them means 4 years old, and then another one is more than 2, and this one means this. This is 6. This is that. Right. It's like, it's.
So it's a screwed up Roman numeral.
Fine, I think, is the youngest, and that's either like a 2-year or 4-year-old, and then there's VS, VSOP, and then XO is the oldest. Okay. But then you've got, within the European tradition especially, you've got a lot of unaged brandies. So you get in more of the different fruit, like cherries, which would be Kirsch, or pear, which is Williams, and a lot of those are not aged at all. So.
All right, Nice House is saying his brandy in Wisconsin favorite is Corbel, which is I think Corbel sells. I think when last I looked, it was 60 to almost 70% is sold to Wisconsin. So I don't think that's false at all. And Emily has given us some shit already about fresh raisins.
To clarify, fresh raisins, I mean like freshly opened raisins when there's still a little moisture in there to them. Because once they're open, or, obviously you stick them in with trail mix or whatever else, it's a different story.
Where you're getting that sticky sweet note for a second.
Get that sticky sweet. Yeah, Def Leppard note.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, well, that's disgusting.
I'm jumping into the first one because we got to go through 6, and what is it not to drink this much? Hey, and what people in the chat? What are you drinking right now? I mean that's an interesting question for us.
Oh, man, that doesn't match the nose at all for me.
Whoa, not right away.
No, not initially. Like initially, it's like that's totally different, and then when it lays down, it's like, oh, okay, now some of those flavors are coming back in there. That's really interesting.
This is weird because it's sweet, but this has like, oh wow, it's like a weird Highland for me almost. It has like some earthy notes, but this is almost super sweet. This is it's diabetes sweet.
What?
It's diabetes sweet. It's just a little bit. I mean, you got to watch out because Wilford watches if you're drinking stuff like this. That little dude, he's his own personal craft distiller.
Diabetes.
He's probably calling it out right now. He sees it coming.
The diabetes berry.
Wolford knows if you've been sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ice House is drinking a Redbreast 12 cast strength. Beautiful pour. Beautiful pour.
Yeah.
Like, I get grape right away, but then it like fades into that green grape does not stick around, and it's only like the high note like halfway through, and like underneath all that is a bunch of flavors I was not quite expecting on the nose.
Yeah, for me, it's I get the grape right off top, kind of a raisin, some plum. You get that dark fruit coming in right there, and then it's all undergirded by there's that earthy kind of chocolate note to it. There's a little bit of a toffee or caramel, a little bit of vanilla coming through, and then it kind of fades into this oak spice, is the way I would describe it.
It's not bad, but this one,
it's the finish is short. But, and I'm limited by the quantity that I have, I'm like, I really just want to pour another glass of that, but I know I shouldn't, and I know I also need to save what we've got left of this. So
it has a tart quality that I was not expecting to see out of that one.
Especially in the beginning. And yeah, once that initial went away, it was a totally different animal.
It was. Oh, we have some guests waiting in the green room. Let's bring them out. It's the Reverend, who has been preaching all day at Fred Minnick's little excitement, little extravaganza today.
Fred's All-American Ascot Revival.
How was it for you guys? How was the little, I don't want to call it dog and pony show, but it was a virtual event that was like going to a festival, kind of.
Listen at him picking a fight. Your little dog and pony show, he says. So first of all,
hey, I was sandwiched between you two at that event, so I already had my excitement for the day.
I would just like to point out that first of all, I brought some theatrics to you. So it's Repeal Day. I'm wearing the hat, and I'm doing one of two things. I'm either playing into the stereotype for Jolie, or I'm preparing my next character for my next endeavor, which is the marijuana farming business. It's coming along. So
Integrity Farms.
I've got my Integrity pipe here. Good to go. Good to go. The canine dog and pony show awards was fantastic. I loved it. It was great. Actually, I just got really drunk and walked around like, I don't know, an hour ago, and we had like two guys from Texas come up and say hi that had bought our stuff from Texas. So I can't complain too much, and they were deep into the conversation. So
yeah, I also met a guy from Texas who was like, "Where can I get your stuff? I'm in Dallas." I'm like, "Bro, Liquor King," and he goes, "That's like right down the street from me."
Right.
So this transitioned into bottle sales for our stores. Yeah. So it was, even if it only turned out to be like 3 sales, totally worth it. We are all about the end user. So honestly, I mean, I thought it was really cool. Don't get me wrong. It was nice to be able to showcase your brand to a bunch of people because that's something that's been missing this year. But on a personal level, it really just made me miss my friends. Like we went to a concert where some guy was singing and he had a beautiful voice and he played a banjo and he was very talented, and we're all doing those stupid little dances, and I was like, God damn, like a music festival would be fucking awesome right now. and you couldn't talk like while you were in the little music area, so you had to exit out, and
which is kind of nice, to be honest with you.
I agree. Yeah, it's respectful to the artist, and so they put a lot of thought into a lot of things. And as far as like that whole world goes, you could like hear yourself walking on snow, like it made that weird crunching snow sound. Like there were birds chirping and shit. It was like, what is happening?
Also, the no talking at a concert thing is amazing because, you know, they need to get like, Minnick needs to get something going with Maynard James Keenan from Tool or something, or that needs to just be a house rule at Tool concerts. Don't explain the philosophy to me, Stoner. Quit it. Quit.
Yeah.
Excellent shirt.
Yeah. How about just any concert? Any concert? I went to an Ani DeFranco concert in Bloomington once, and there were all of these little baby lesbians everywhere, and one of them screamed, "Show us your tits!" And I was like, and she hasn't been back to Bloomington since, and so I blame that little college lesbian. And you shouldn't be allowed to say those things to your folk heroes. You should not be allowed to yell those things at feminist folk concerts.
I would like to just thank you for being the first one of the two of us to be politically incorrect this evening. Thank you. Send your hate mail too.
She does have a thread of truth where like that is like the most opposite thing you would yell to Ani DeFranco, and that I could ever imagine.
I was like, what the fuck? Where are we? Like, come on.
I saw the Dresden Dolls open for 9 Inch Nails one time, and I love the Dresden Dolls, but you talk about a group that got murdered during a concert. That was the possible worst pairing that you could have possibly have tried to pull off.
Worst pairing ever was Harley Davidson had their yearly event down in Milwaukee, and I would like to see this, but it's not the crowd for it. They got Elton John to sing the entire night, and they only knew Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, and they didn't know the rest of any of Elton John's songs. It was not a good evening, from what I understand.
Also, he is a fantastic performer. I've seen him, and he is.
It's just
amazing.
it was the wrong crowd. It's what it was.
Let me tell you what was terrible paired with terrible was Depeche Mode for Depeche Mode. The worst concert I have ever seen in my life. And I have friends that have seen them like 5 or 10 times and loved it. And I was like, well, they blow. Also, like 5 years ago, they were advertising their show on Groupon. So I'm not the only one that thinks Depeche Mode sucks in concert.
I had that same experience with the Deftones, and I love the Deftones music. And this was probably 10, 12 years ago. But the 2 times that I saw him, Chino Marino, he's a big guy. He's like me, right? Listen, you're only going to yell so long before you run out of breath. Didn't take him long. And he literally, both times I saw him, went over and just sat down on the drum riser. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
He's tired.
You're just, yeah. And like mouth breathing. You could hear him mouth breathing through the microphone.
He's like DJ at a concert.
Very much so, yeah. Years ago, like 2002, Jim Beam did a Rock the Rack House thing in Louisville, and it was so weird. It was Montgomery Gentry, Hank 3, Filter, and Nickelback.
How many Hank Williams are there?
There's 3, and then there's another son and another daughter that play as well.
Yeah.
Do they count as like Hank 4 and 5?
No. There's only one Hank 3.
It's Henrietta as the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't have any bad pairings for concerts, but the weirdest one, looking back on it, 1983 in Des Moines, Iowa, Adam Ant concert. In Excess opened for him.
Oh, boo.
And it was hardly anybody had heard of them.
Boo! Shut the fuck up! In Excess?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Listen, I would treat
died?
In Excess the same as an opener for Adam Ant as the Dresden Dolls got treated for 9 Inch Nails. Without a doubt.
I saw... Okay, no, here's a weird pairing. If I'm remembering this correctly. Jars of Clay, Matchbox 21 or Matchbox 20 opened for Jars of Clay. And Jars of Clay was a Christian band. Then later I saw Jars of Clay open, wait for it, for Peter fucking Gabriel.
That's
I will say this. I've seen Jars of Clay.
They're good.
Phenomenal. They're phenomenal artists.
Agreed.
But the funniest thing was the show they were doing. This was in a church, so it was mostly church folk kind of there to see them. And they reached the end of the show, and they start talking about, we're at the end, and now we're going to move into our most spiritual work, and blah blah blah, and kind of building it up. And they're kind of playing, but you can't tell quite what the song is going to be. And then all of a sudden, they break out into a rendition of Cyndi Lauper's "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." And it was the funniest thing, just watching all these church people looking around like, what are they doing?
What's happening?
What is going on here?
Are we being pumped
up? I loved it.
The first time I saw Typo Negative, they pulled something like that before they ever really kind of got, I guess, kind of caught on a little bit. But it was at an Ozfest, and they played the Beatles back in the USSR. And it took everybody a minute, right? Everybody's just staring at each other like, what the hell is happening? And then they realized what song it was. And then it went from, I don't understand what's happening, to this may be the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
There's one band I like to see that is bluegrass. Oh, God. But they play Can You Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight? And it is fucking one of the greatest. It's terrible. It's one of the greatest covers. It is so much better, and I really enjoy it. And they oddly enough, that being a couple of people, that's like what we'll yell for. They'll end the night on that because I'm like, it's oddly so good. And it's not what you're expecting at all. When you start hearing bluegrass playing at the beginning of the song, you're like, I didn't know we were going down this road.
I saw 411 open for Blondie. You're like,
Wow.
ska, Blondie.
Yeah.
That kind of fits a little.
A little. I mean, definitely because she's into, promoting, bigger people, but yeah, or smaller bands that are, making a big sound.
I had
But
a
it was a
Jim
weird
Brewer
little-
moment one time that I'll never forget, which was, have you ever heard his thing about going to see the Big Four and then Slayer coming on? I had this exact moment. I was in front of the stage at Ozfest waiting for Megadeth, and Slayer played before Megadeth, and I got down there before Slayer started. That is the closest to death I've ever come in my life. Like, literally, and I'm a big guy, and I was big back then. I was on the front rail, like holding on to the rail, praying to God, please do not let them take me. Do not let them take me into the pit, because I'm not coming back out if I go in. It's going to be over if it happens. And it is. Slayer fans are terrible. It's like a religious experience for those guys, right? Slayer comes on, and it's as though you're at a fucking animal sacrifice and someone has just slit the throat of the sheep. The blood is
I've been in a few pits. I do know what you're talking about.
yeah. Yeah.
I have never done that.
I think I lost everyone for a second there. And ironically enough, you guys came on at just the right point. We were finishing up the Ararat, and I just poured your apple brandy.
Oh,
so do you want to talk about what went into your guys' your apple brandy that's only 2 years old?
Sure.
Which is 8 years younger than the last one we had. And damn, I love the cinnamon on
Alan,
this.
your face is frozen, and it's hilarious.
I know. I'm trying to find my way back to the thing here, guys. I apologize.
It just looks like he's really pissed at something.
I know.
Said.
Oh, Reverend Thomas Green, fuck you.
Is that the face he's going with for the rest of the night?
Yep.
Where is it at? I can't find it. It's unacceptable.
Oh,
okay.
And we have
got it.
Christy!
I was going to say Christy Atkinson, who is a co-host with Alan Bishop, who we give you credit for putting up with him. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Alan's a joy.
And you guys just had an awesome show.
Don't
I think it was.
lie.
Yes, you're allowed to swear. We're 5 minutes in, Christy. It's good. You can do what you want on the channel now.
We swear a lot on Distiller Stock, so.
Oh, I know.
There's a 5-minute Tourette's alarm with YouTube. Otherwise, it gets upset.
Yeah, you just have
after
to
5 minutes, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, first 5 minutes, then they warn
God forbid you be a real person. Gotta wait 5 minutes.
Hey,
well, I think Alan's not being a real person. He switched names today.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
He did.
In honor of Repeal Day. Yeah. And also National Fuck Carpetbaggers Day. That's a real thing. You didn't know that.
Still upset about that from last. Jesus.
There you go, Joey.
I spend a good 80% of my life just angry about something for no good reason. So, for whatever that's worth. Although
that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So apple brandy. You were asking about apple brandy.
Sure.
What do you want to know?
Yep.
I'm drinking apple brandy.
How do you guys make your apple brandy? That's it.
I'm a little stoned. So
it's the surprise.
Surprise.
That's a delay.
It's only 319 days until the next Alan Bishop Day. I just checked.
Next year's symbol, by the way.
Julie's like, fuck you.
It's not a shocker, it's the surprise.
It's better than when the Larry Bird release will be coming out.
Right. Watch her not be able to get back on now.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Now's the time we talk about her.
Right. Julie. So anyways, we bring in apple juice from Michigan. Hopefully one day that will change as more Hoosier farmers start to grow heritage apples. But it's really hard to get good apples here in Indiana because Prohibition really destroyed the orchard industry. So where we're at, she's literally gone. She's done.
Yeah,
she's out.
So the device is not connected. We'll see if she comes back.
Right.
Oh.
That was awesome. I'm going to get you guys shirts for National Alan Bishop Day next year.
I hope we're moving on now.
No, we're actually still talking about what we're going to do to make it special. Next year, we'll actually be selling shocker.
Dinner camera break. No, Aaron, that was on purpose.
She'll be back in
390 days. Unfortunately,
yeah, we're going to do shocker Christmas ornaments.
Aaron, Alan, and I will be together on Monday. Most likely,
Alan,
still
I
talk
was
tomorrow.
upset. Alan and I were trying to do the shocker in the Repeal Expo, but we couldn't do hand gestures.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't work. But some dude had a
We did try.
lightsaber. There was a lightsaber.
What?
Yes, there was a lightsaber. He had like a laser pointer or something, and after you left, like he and I talked, and we tried to figure it out legit for like 20 minutes. We could not figure it out. He's like, maybe it's a Deji World Easter egg. I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid that just some random guy can have it.
Right?
He couldn't imply somebody took it.
He tried to give it to me. He didn't know how it worked. Like we figured out that he had to get a certain distance from the slideshow, and then he could move his cursor around the slideshow and like point to things. So clearly they thought he worked there. Or I don't really know. All I know is that guy Justin that started it said that I could make my avatar have a big butt. I could not.
That's true.
There was no section for implants
Straight
whatsoever.
disappointment. Also, Alan looked like he was wearing Jenkos the whole time.
I did. Fred Minnick looked like Bill Hicks.
Yes!
That's okay though. I like Bill.
Yeah, that's an
right?
improvement.
It's amazing.
It was great.
It's amazing.
Welcome to the shit show, everybody.
Yeah. So, all right. So,
We're only a
tell us
couple minutes in.
Tell us your expectations for the next Apple Brandy release, or the one you just worked on.
Well, shit, I didn't even walk through the production.
Yeah, Jesus, Mike, you're like, I want to drink some more
Well,
shit.
we start talking shockers, and then everyone starts going on about avatars and stuff, and I'm just trying to bring it back.
God, Mike, get with the times. This is what's going on.
This is not our type of show, Mike. What are you doing?
Is it? You got to say it's far worse than me just trolling the comments. So me and Jolie show up, and then we bring help. We bring help.
Yeah. Trolling
anyway,
the comments is.
That
I've
poor
only
guy.
gotten you
I could have
back
told
twice.
you that guy was
so.
so fucking boring.
Okay, on the apple brandy, we bring in Michigan apple juice. We ferment that for 2 weeks. Shut up! I'm talking over here. God.
MGP guy.
Hold on
Fuck
here.
it, we
We'll,
buy apple brandy from MGP.
hold on. We'll make Alan feel good here. We'll bring him full screen when he's talking for a second.
Oh,
this is gonna
God,
be
really?
terrible.
Just for a second.
My pupils dilated.
Oh my God. Get over yourself.
Just don't show us your piercings again. We'll be okay.
What? You don't know?
that?
No,
Maybe.
not. That's another thing YouTube frowns upon.
Right? Nipple flashes. Good. For men and for women. Good.
Okay. Now,
It's all about equality.
now I know
Right.
Alan wants to tell us about his apple brain.
No, fuck it. We buy it from Laird's and bottle it ourselves.
Well,
The
they make
next
some
one, we're
decent
just
shit.
buying Laird's Black Barrel or whatever their next thing is. We're just going to bring that one in. Fuck it.
Oh, my God.
So
Tell
double
about the bottled in bond brandy, Alan.
Damn it. Oh,
Tell
trying.
Spilling all the secrets.
Now.
Okay. All right. So we ferment the apple juice for 2 weeks at 67 degrees, and then we double pot distill it just like we do the bourbon. No chill filtration. The barrels change from year to year, just depending on what the year is. So the next release will be next fall. That'll be the bottled and bond apple brandy. That'll be 4 years old. All of that went into number 2 char, New American Oak. All juice out of Michigan, a blend of basically 7 varieties. mostly Golden Delicious because it's the only one of the commonly available commercial varieties that really makes decent brandy. Some of the other ones make okay brandy, but you really need a blend for that. But yeah, that stuff will all be out next year, and then there will be a couple of potential single barrels. There's one that's 5 years old in a 53-gallon New American Oak barrel, and there will be one that's 5 years old in a 63-gallon once-used red wine barrel. And I may play around with some French oak finishing on those just to see what happens. So, and then we just distilled a batch. The first batch we've done with the McCoy yeast from the McCoy distillery here in southern Indiana. Been close since 1914. I got to be really good friends with the family, and they cued me in with a lot of the history, gave me a lot of old pictures, showed me a lot of artifacts, and gave me access to the old still site. The building's still there, so we got yeast in there, and we've used it for bourbon. But this is the first batch of apple brandy that we've actually ran with that yeast, and it's
also
it's
she makes us jelly every year now too.
Jelly, well, that's
pretty much the best fucking part.
There's two of them. There's Dead Knight, and then Kathy Coulter is actually the one who owns the distillery building.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, Deb is another. She's one of her cousins, and Deb's awesome. She makes jam out of peaches and Lee Sinclair, and then she did some caramel corn last year with pecans in it with Lee Sinclair, and it was amazing. And I don't think Jolie got any of it, and I do not feel bad about that at all.
Nope. She also made bourbon balls, and I didn't get any of those either.
Hey, also to be clear, just so you know, Amzie Winning also made sure that Christy got some of that apple smoked bacon that you didn't get.
It was amazing. I have a little bit left.
But
she's going to eat it later during the stream to talk.
Yeah, right? Wall staring at me.
He also made me venison sausages.
I'm giving myself a facial.
Told you Amzie didn't like you.
How about that tequila barrel? What's going on with that?
So good.
Yeah, that might be a next fall thing too. We'll see. But we basically ran an apple brandy.
Camera is gonna break again. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can read the chat, Jolie. It's okay.
I can't participate in that chat. Otherwise, I'd be over here talking shit about Alan the whole time.
This is so much worse than Deggy World because I can't just walk away from you.
It'd be nice if I could do that little like dance.
What's on the other side of the curtain,
you.
Reverend?
Dead
Close.
bodies. Dead bodies. Yeah.
Integrity Farms.
Mostly closed, right? My little grow room.
Right on the other side.
I got the curtains because it might have been on your show. I can't remember whose show it was, but I was doing a show one night. Hell, it might have been on Distillers Talk, which we don't really record video for. But I was sitting here and I was talking, and I looked over and I see my wife's bra like sticking out like a bra. And it's been there. It was like 45 minutes into the conversation. I'm like, motherfucker. Had to go off camera and fix it. So this is the solution.
It's a good answer.
Right.
We are nothing but professional.
For sure. So the tequila barrel is just apple brandy that was distilled like a clear brandy. So no heads or tails were kept into the hearts cut whatsoever. And then we got a hold of some once used French oak barrels that were originally from France and had red wine in them, and then went down to Mexico and had some organic agave tequila in them for a year. And then we got a hold of them, and that apple brandy's been in there like 3 years now. And the idea is just to make kind of a straw-colored apple brandy that has a little of that tequila tonality to it. We want a little of that citrus in there. But I want that apple brandy to hold up to it, and so far it's held up to it just fine. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about that the other day, and I like the way it tastes right now. But I think I'm going to yank a barrel or two down and I guess technically finish it in a number 2 charred oak barrel. Just to get kind of 3 different things going on at once there. The apple brandy, a little of that bourbon influence, and then that tequila influence as well.
Neat. Now,
there's a few of those tequila barrels.
Yeah, there's 12.
You mentioned using a new yeast. Do you use any different yeast when you're using brandy than you do your typical whiskey that you guys are doing?
So it's actually the other way around. We typically use brandy yeast in our whiskeys, which is a lot of fun. Almost, I mean, every whiskey that you'll ever taste out of us has got brandy yeast in it at some point in the stage.
And a house yeast.
Right. So with the brandies, they actually use one of the same yeast that we use for Sinclair, typically. which is Ben 13, which is an old South African brandy yeast I like really well. But we don't really run enough apple brandy to be able to use those different alternative yeasts a whole lot. And I'm going to start pushing for that real hard from now on. Now that I know what that McCoy yeast can do with apple brandy, because it was the best brandy I've ever tasted off Distilled. And so I've got two more brandy yeasts from old brandy distilleries in southern Indiana that made apple brandy that I want to play with. I've actually got a yeast from the old Cliff distillery, and one from the Spring Mill distillery. So I want to see what those do with apple brandy for sure.
Nice.
You're breaking up, Alan.
Yeah, you were for a second there. I was trying to see if I had other stuff going on, but I don't. So we'll see. That'll probably clear up in a second. Question for you guys. Besides what you're drinking, what are some of the better brandies you have had over your lifetime? Is there any one or two that kind of step out from the rest that you've had?
Christian Druin Calvados in particular, I like a lot. That's an excellent Calvados. Pretty much any Armagnac I've ever gotten a hold of, I absolutely love. I kind of like cognac. If I'm going to drink cognac and it's going to be from one of the big houses, it's going to be Martell, because Martell has a little more character to it than the other guys do. But I'm not a huge cognac fan. There's too much emphasis on the mineral quality of the grapes. I'm not a huge fan of that. Hubert Robin, particularly the single varietals that he was doing, those are some of the best spirits I've ever tasted in my life. They're fantastic. And as much as it pains me to say it, Ted Huber had a brandy that I liked. He made a pear brandy that was excellent. So I'll forgive him some of his other trespasses based on that.
Christy, what about you? Do you ever dabble in brandy, or do you stick away from it?
So I drink brandy once in a while. The brandies that have been my best experiences, I couldn't tell you really who made them, except for one was in a winery in Germany. I was in the Mosel Valley, and it was Krebs Winery. They had a really good pear brandy. And then I've had a really good brandy in Sweden, but I have no clue what it was.
Hey, as long as it made at least a little memory, that's all it has to do.
It was fantastic. I had some bad brandy experiences too, if Alan knows it.
Well, let's hear these. This is the other exciting half.
Oh no, I usually just bring them to Alan because they're mistakes.
There was one that she brought me that was legitimately not only the worst brandy that I've ever tasted, but probably the worst spirit I've ever tasted in my life.
Yeah, when I taste a fuck up, I bring it to Alan and I'm like, Alan, here's what I think's wrong with it, or I don't know what's wrong with it. You tell me.
Yeah,
I think this tell us it's not right.
We have a friend that has part of his Wednesdays are the worst whiskey watch, where he's supposed to find horribly awful whiskeys and say what he thinks about them. So maybe if you have some of these other things, we can give them to him, because Ed drinks some horrific shit every now and then.
That sounds like a terrible job. Or
he does so normal stuff too, but
I'm not gonna lie to you, this shit was so bad I literally would not have used it to clean the frost off of my car windshield, because I wouldn't want my fucking car to smell like that.
Mind you, this brandy was raved about too, but not by Alan.
Do you care about brandy, or have you had anything exciting?
So any chance I get, I drink out of a 4-year tequila barrel that has apple brandy
Which is amazing. It's really good.
It's so good. It is, in my opinion, it's one of the best things in that. And I don't know or haven't tasted all of the things in that chai, but I have a lot of them, and that is my favorite.
I was going to say that's because she hasn't found the Christmas barrel that Pedro and I know about.
You guys are fucking excluding, and it's not nice. You should be calling me and telling me these things.
You're just Monday morning trying barrels at random.
So mean. Yeah. I mean, we do that.
He's going to get a piece of chalk and write Christmas barrel on some random barrel in the warehouse just to mess with it.
And I'm going to be like, open it!
Fill with Malort.
It's going to be fucking 2-year-old multigrain. No, so anything that, and this is funny, so anything that Tony Menincella ever brings to the distillery, that is really, aside from apple brandy, Martell for sidecars, I have a bottle of that downstairs, but I'm not really a brandy drinker, so Tony always brings over high quality, amazing brandy, and I think the last one that I had that blew my mind was like a 40 or 50 year Calvados, and it was just so delicious and so fantastic. And he's brought over an Armagnac before too, but I don't think that I enjoyed that as much as I did. Now, it was good, but I don't think that I enjoyed it as much as the Calvados. But he loves brandy, and so he always brings over really special things for Alan and I to taste when he comes. So,
yeah, I can't remember what the name of the house was on that Calvados. It was 50 year, and it was a Pays d'Auge. So
I have a picture of it because I was like, "Holy shit!" It blew my mind. It was so good. I think it's on my Instagram account.
Well, those Pays d'Auge brandies are really good because they actually, and as opposed to the other two areas in Calvados, not required, but they're allowed to use double pot still distillation, and they can use up to 10% tears in their fermentation. So it really changes the flavor profile of Calvados when you do that pretty tremendously.
That's pretty.
They're
sweet.
excellent. The other two good ones, Van Fields, who has his own moonshine brand now, but he had some of the best homemade peach brandy I've ever tasted in my life. Christy, did you get to try that at Moonshiner's Ball?
I don't think I tried his peach brandy. I think I had some sort of moonshine out of his jar, though.
Mm-hmm. Right, that may have been. It's hard to say. And then there was a bottle. I don't know if it's still there. It was up at the reporter's office here in Washington County. When they tore the second courthouse down back in the late 1800s, in the cornerstone, they always said that the Fleemans had left a bottle of peach brandy under the cornerstone, and they did, and there was about that much left in the bottle, and that would have been distilled in the 1860s. And I got to get a little shot of that, and it was good for what it was. It was excellent, just a white peach brandy.
Nice.
Probably made from the cleaner peach that still grows here.
Nice. Mike and Ben, just so you guys and everyone in the chat, I switched on to the Lejon brandy, the Bicentennial, the 1976. Just
that one.
Yes, that one. Mike's the one that.
Bottle.
Yeah.
Is it the Liberty Bell?
It sure is.
Well,
you can
that's
guess
pretty
why they did that. No, it's a friend of mine actually had
why don't you
this.
tell us?
I'm trying to. If you'd shut up. So, can you mute her? No, so a friend of mine had brought some of this over to me once before. Exactly. And I happened upon this in a lot of a bunch of old bottles, and it was like $18 for this thing. And I was like, that's got to be the same stuff because, who makes stuff with Liberty Bells? But it's pretty good. I mean, it's just a California brandy. What is it? 80 proof.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
It's nice. A little waxy quality to it that I wasn't expecting, but not heavy, but like a little bit that you get when you used to eat those little bottle caps. Or
and it's a really tiny opening to it too, so it'd make a lousy decanter.
That waxy thing is interesting. So that's there's no real technical term for that, but what it is it's the long chain fatty acids that get distilled off, especially from pot still distillation. But you can get it from columns as well. But where you get a lot of that from is guys who, when they do their stripping run, never clean out their spirits receiver. So like if you talk to anybody from the bean plant, they call that GAC, G-A-C. That's the name that they use for it. I don't know why. But it's literally like this white, waxy substance, and it'll build up in your spirits receiver. And that's where you start pulling those oils across from that. So like some of your Calvados will have that. Some of your Armagnac will have it. And then a lot of Scotch whiskeys that go into blends like Johnny Walker will have that. And you're specifically looking for that. As a matter of fact, there was one distillery that the operator's got in a lot of trouble. It's been probably 10 years back. I can't remember which one it was. One of the small ones that doesn't sell single malt, but they provide that waxy character. They're like Johnny Walker Black Label, Well, somebody who didn't know any better, who had just started, cleaned out the spirits receiver, and it had not been cleaned out in the entire history of that distillery. So there were like 2-3 inches of this stuff built up on the sides of the spirits receiver, and he flushed it all down the drain. And they worked for weeks trying to figure out what had happened. They thought that they were just off profile for whatever random reason. And it's because he destroyed their house character with that one, just, taking a water hose and rinse out their, it's dirty. Nobody's done this. So,
but like if I had been doing it, I'd been like, look, I cleaned everything out. Let's start over with the next thing. And like 3 days later, I'm fired.
Right.
Like washing a seasoned pan.
I'll be honest, like when I read it, I the first thing I thought was like, that's my dad. My dad would be the one who cleaned that up and ruined it. And it wouldn't be because he didn't know, it'd been because he forgot that he knew. And then I'd be like, how do you forget that why? What is your problem? So, yeah, that's where that comes from, that waxy character, almost like candle wax, which it's an interesting mouthful thing.
It is, definitely. I was going to say, and that's one of the things that's jumping out more about this one to me. Wow.
It's actually I find it a little soapy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just neat, but I couldn't imagine being that guy. That would just suck. I don't know if I would show up like the next day after they told me what I did. I'd be like, I'll just go work at McDonald's next week. It'll be okay.
Well, and the bad thing is too, from a perspective of the blenders like that, with like Johnny Walker, those are things that you can't replace or replicate. You can't just go to the next distillery and find that, because the next distillery doesn't have it. There's literally one distillery out of all the 29 or whatever that Diageo owns over there. That's the one place that can make that character, and you can't replace it. It's not going to be a part of that profile again, until they build up some amount of that over time. So, yeah.
It's almost like making a different brand for 3 years and then coming back to your own stuff afterwards. That'd be terrible.
Yep.
This one's nowhere near as fruity and aromatic at all compared to the Ararat or your guys' apple brand. This is much flatter.
Yeah, if it had at first, you'd get a little bit more out of it, but it's not spectacular. It's a cool bottle, and it's old. That's about it.
That Ararat, they do a really cool thing with that too. Real quick, since I wasn't here when you guys were into that, so they do, and I've seen old Boone companies do this too. They'll treat that in particular a whole lot like you would treat a sour mash whiskey. So they run the wine or run the base through the still, and then they'll take 10% of that and add it back to the wine for the next distillation. So you start building up all those esters, and it's almost like you get some of those rum esters out of it. It's a lot bigger, a lot brighter, a lot fatter on the palate. That ought to get Jolie going over there.
So gross.
Got a creamy mouth.
I was trying not to interrupt you on your geek rant.
A geek rant. Yes.
I like to listen to that shit, dude. You know stuff. I respect you.
It is. Got a geek question. Aaron was wondering, how would you go about increasing the waxy taste? The spirits receiver with more surface area, run some more oily spirits. How would you kind of bridge that gap after that was screwed up? or is it just time?
It mostly would be time, because any other variable you change, like those Scottish distilleries that do those single malts like that for blends, it's super important that they stay on character, right? So anything that you do is going to affect that character. So it would just mostly be time. Now, like for a new distiller, if that was something they wanted to mess with, you just keep using the same receiver over and over again for that product. But so with pot still distillation, if you had a stripping still like ours that's made out of stainless, it's going to take longer to come to a boil and longer to run off. You're going to break down more of those long chain fatty acids. Of course, this doesn't really apply to Scotch, but like in bourbon, if you're using oats, like we do in Lee Sinclair, you're going to get a lot more of those long chain fatty acids as well. I suspect that there are probably some yeast strains that you could play with that you could do the same thing with, or even maybe longer fermentations. That would probably.
Would you just run like some Crisco through the line?
Just put a layer in there.
Probably.
So that it would pick more pick more things up then?
Listen, I'm telling you right now, Jolie, that in a couple years, when somebody rolls out with a product because they listen to this podcast and they heard you say that shit,
I can say, I'm the assistant distiller. You shouldn't have listened to me.
As long as you make it lard and not Crisco. Like, there's a distinctive difference. I'll take legit lard over Crisco.
I mean, what about cocoa butter?
Now, that does bring up something interesting, though, on the brandy side for you guys. So, in Eastern Europe, especially countries where Slivovice or Palinka are really popular, a lot of times those cultures have a history of butchering their livestock in the fall at the same time that they're distilling. And so a lot of them will have basically get-togethers with their family. And everybody will come over to help with the butchering and getting the meat and everything ready, or to help with the still. And you'll see those guys put hams or sausages and all kinds of craziness in the still with the Slivovice and cook it in the mash or in the vapor path of the still.
That sounds delicious.
Well, it's going to give you that fatty profile.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you age it for a while, you get some rancio from it, and you get delicious fatty pork out of it.
Didn't Justin Dean just have a suggestion like that too when we were interviewing him from Madhouse?
Oh yeah, he and I, we were on a wavelength there, mostly because he's interested in food and I'm fat.
I believe the word is connoisseur. Is what
they do that with mezcal as well, though, right?
That's not the word.
Sorry, Ben. You're talking.
I
real
will say
stuff.
that I think there's some of the villages, just depending on where they do that with mezcal as well. They'll hang chickens or something like that over while they're distilling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called, but no, not pulque. I'll think of it in a minute. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That is pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone's right. So a bacon-like liquid. Yeah, that's fine. That'd be okay with that.
It's like fat
totally
wash in a cocktail, right? Same
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I will say the first time I saw someone do that, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? It's not a clean process by any means. And I don't know, part of me questions if that person knew exactly what they were doing. But the whole thing was, I'd never seen it done before. And it was a little crazy, but.
Have you ever done that, Christy? You ever fat washing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I figured you did. So what is that process? Just out of curiosity.
You actually drain it through cheesecloth, so you can put whatever in there and let it steep. And then you have to make sure you have a really good cheesecloth and you just strain it right over.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't just pour bacon grease in my drink?
It might come to the top and you can just scoop it off if you want to.
You can just add
you don't want to drink that.
Liquid smoke, like bitters.
Yeah.
Listen, we got everybody doing this stupid one-chip challenge thing, right? And then you got all these guys that are chugging bottles on the interwebs. I'm just saying, man up and do the
bacon fat.
You get a high-proof bourbon, you pour it in your glass, 2 fingers deep, and then you add about 1/4 of an inch of bacon. And if you down that, you have my respect.
I have friends that did that in college, and you don't want to have the bacon grease challenge ever come to fruition. It ends the same way that I can drink a gallon of milk challenge goes. It ends in this horrific, awful ending where it's great. It's great if you're not the person and it's not your house.
I'm Kenny Rogers. This is the milk challenge. Best video ever. Best video ever.
So Mike. Oh, go ahead, sorry. We'll let you talk, Alan. You can go ahead.
No.
Reverend. I don't want to step on your toes there.
Yeah, we're here for your spiritual guidance as always.
He's gonna get out his black powder pistols
next. I'm gonna find some spiritual guidance.
Okay, there you go.
I think this one is probably the least exciting one I've had on the table yet. Would you guys agree?
Oh, 100%.
Can you show us that bottle again, Mike?
Yeah.
That's what would have made me buy the bottle had I been there, because I am a sucker for bullshit packaging.
You know, you weren't even born yet, but in 76 around that time. No, you weren't.
I wasn't.
But everything that was Bicentennial for the couple years up to it and afterwards, man.
Yeah.
Everything had bells and red, white, and blue and all kinds of crap.
America, fuck yeah.
That's right.
Usually though, if they have to put it in a gimmicky bottle, you can expect it's not going to taste so great.
Yeah. That's pretty much.
Yeah, the bottles are apparently popular, the empty ones, but we'll find out.
What is it? Is that Lusty Claw? Is that other one that's got that huge thing? It's absolutely atrocious, but it's like you could knock someone out. You could knock someone out.
If you could combine that with this, that would be.
We have an old awesome. George Washington decanter. Like it is legit his whole head. And it's up on my husband's bar, and I went and was like, it caught the light the other day, and I was like, holy shit, there's liquid in there. Like, oh my God, I like thought I had some miraculous Dusty on the shelf or some shit. I go and I grab it, and on the back, in my husband's grandfather's writing, it says, not wine. I don't know what the fuck is in here. We're just going to put it right back up on the shelf.
That's a bottle of vintage pee.
Right. I don't know. I tried to kind of like, it was cemented in. It has a tack strip that was ripped at one point. So I was like, whatever not wine is, we're just going to put it right back up there and just
the tack strip was ripped, but someone tried to put it back together real
nice.
It
is like legit
with your
like
finger,
right
try to
on
wet it.
the line.
This is going to go back.
Yeah. My 20 seconds of excitedness was like, God damn it.
Anybody out there want to do the random bottle of not wine challenge from Jolie Kasperzak's house?
Yes, dude, we could sell Eventbrite tickets.
This is a dead world event.
Yeah. The labels on those sample bottles will be fucking bomb. I will put George Washington's head on there.
Where do you drink?
Label it not wine.
Not wine.
Why would
where do you drink from George Washington's head? I mean, where is like a hole? I'm just intrigued by the bottle design.
You want to see it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let me go get it.
Because if I got for them, I would make it in the lips just to fuck with people.
Okay,
you know, like...
all right. Yeah, hold on.
So,
put Abe Lincoln's put his in the temple.
Oh, Jesus. Here in time out now.
Does JFK get a bottle?
No, you guys are both
or 3 or 4 pieces.
One of the other reasons I wanted to bring Christy on here, other than she's my partner on Distillers Talk, and this ties into your Brandy thing, is that she and I are getting ready to launch another show here shortly. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a seasonal thing, and I'm gonna let Christy kind of announce it and talk about it for a minute if you guys don't mind.
No, please do.
But the first season is all about demystifying absinthe. So
make her big.
Absinthe was originally a brandy-based drink, so that plays right into it.
Yeah. So Ellen and I were coming up with a show concept where we wanted it to be demystifying spirits, as he was saying, and we wanted to do our whole first season on absinthe. And Ellen and I say this all the time. What we've essentially done is actually muddied the water quite a bit more. So we have not demystified it at all. But, we've really dug deep. We're bringing on people who either distill absinthe, absinthe enthusiasts. We have people who are part of this 40-year underground absinthe movement within the U.S. And we are still recording, and it will be released within 2021, the beginning of the year, we're hoping. So, yeah, it's going to be really fun.
We even found a descendant of the Henriot sisters who have been given credit for creating absinthe, and we brought her on the show and got some super interesting stories out of her as well.
Yeah.
How many episodes do you guys have recorded? Quite a few.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we're around a dozen right now.
Right.
And what we're doing is we're splicing them together. So this isn't like a traditional podcast. It will be probably like 6 or so different people that we've interviewed, but we're focusing on a certain theme for that particular episode.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. Now, with how absinthe got kind of, I want to say, away from its traditional making and got muddied over time with what was acceptable, do you guys address that like kind of history where it kind of what absinthe was not technically what it was in the past?
Yeah. We can get into like the red absinthe.
Yeah, we even went further than that. So obviously in modern times, there's a lot of fakery when absinthe started getting popular again, or they tried to make it popular again. So we've gotten into that. but that history is muddy all throughout absinthe history. So like we go all the way back to where did absinthe originate? And there are 3 answers to that, and all 3 of those answers are correct. And then how was absinthe made originally versus how was it made in the Belle Epoque versus how was it made in Switzerland County, Indiana in the 1830s, where these guys didn't have access to the type of equipment they were using in France and the Swiss Alps at the time. And does that still make it absinthe? Yes, it does. Or how does, one of the interesting ones, a buddy of mine, D.L. Garza, we had on, I knew that there were absinthe distilleries in New Orleans, but JL actually had some of the history. And so Herb Saint was actually from one of those distilleries when Prohibition ended. The absinthe distillers, even though absinthe was banned before Prohibition, thought that absinthe was legal again. And so they all fired up and started making absinthe, and the government came around and basically told them, no, it's still not legal. So the Herb Saint guys took the recipe and switched out Artemisia absinthium for another Artemisia species. So it still maintains that absinthe flavor and characteristic. So it's still technically absinthe. So we went as deep into this as what we could. And then the other fun part of it that Christy and I are really enjoying is we're going to do this a lot like, so Coast to Coast AM is actually the show that kind of inspires it, right? So it's very much got that characteristic to it. But we've been getting paranormal stories from people as we go. So anybody that comes on that has any kind of paranormal story, we really don't care what it's about, but those will be tied into it as well. So we'll just drop those randomly in between clips. And then Christy's going to have, unfortunately, a great time editing this together.
Oh, good luck. That's just so much fun.
I should mention the name of the show is called The Veil. So, we're kind of, lifting that veil on all these things that we are discussing. And that whole spiritualism that we discussed too in those different breakout segments, that does tie back to, the spirituality behind spirits making.
I forgot who you had on that one. You did like a chat with someone, Alan, and I forget what star it was, but I think she was from the Orange is the New Black, and I can't remember her name. But
Alicia Reiner.
Yes, you were talking about with her because she seemed very spiritual about her drinks as well too, which are kind of pulling into them a little bit more so. So I thought it was pretty neat too.
Yeah. So what's really crazy with doing this research that I think a lot of people will like, especially with the lady who's a descendant of the Henriot sisters, you find out that one of the paths that absinthe came from was very much tied to sort of European folk magic and small occult rituals. And she gets into that in a major way and introduces it in a way that I don't think has ever really been told before. And I think it's a good time to bring it about too, because right now there's a lot of interest in, a lot of people going back to primitive beer brewing and using different things other than hops to flavor with. And this is kind of spirit's version of that. Absinthe really is in a lot of ways. It's got as much in common with that style of brewing and quote unquote witchcraft as it does anything to do with distilling, bourbon or anything going on in the modern era. It's super, super textural and super culturally interesting. Even if you don't like absinthe, you don't have to like absinthe to like the show for sure. Because you're going to get a lot of really neat stories that haven't been told. And a lot of those stories might reinforce your opinion of other spirits other than just absinthe.
Nice. I think that's be something interesting. And absinthe is something I'm sure we're going to look into more so. I know Ben's got some hiding over there that we're working on getting. We did gin, and surprisingly enough, we all like gin more than we thought we did. So I think that's going to happen with more spirits as we go. We just
some gins.
I was just getting to that. I'm like, I feel like we had the ones, and my parents always got the ones that were ran through that green Christmas tree cutout that used to go on your rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's what they used to run the gin my parents had through all the time. Yeah, just this awful, horrible flavor that I always thought my parents were trying to trap me. Like, do you want to finish this drink? I'm like, I'm not 21. No, I don't. I don't want, this is entrapment and you shouldn't be doing this. And they're like, well, they didn't want to drink it themselves is what it was. But we've had a couple this year that I was like, damn, I'm actually really impressed. And I kind of like that. And I'm going to be honest, I'm nervous because of the black licorice. And these two just, they scare me with it all the time.
It's Patrick, it's going to be a challenge for you because of where you are with rye and with the black licorice and the anise note. But I will say this: I've had a number of absinthe before over the years, and this Fascination Street that Alan has done. That's one of the most unique and amazing. I mean, it's when I say it's an experience, it's a freaking experience, and it's really cool. I can't wait for you guys to get to try that out.
Yeah. Emily's saying witchcraft, alchemy, it's the same thing. That's
very, 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 very similar. But in the world of absinthe and herbal botanicals and those sort of things, they actually come from two separate traditions. It just turns out that those two separate traditions were approaching things from a spiritual perspective and aiming for the same goals without working alongside one another. But yeah, very much otherwise.
Now, just because I'm going to keep everyone moving with the brandy we're having, Mike, what is this one? I opened the tiny bottle you sent me that is extremely dark.
Oh, that's probably the 50. Is it the Perez?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I tagged someone who I thought was the company, but now they're friends with me on Instagram. It was really close. It was really close. And then I just looked at his account and I'm like, maybe you're a son or a daughter that's related or somehow.
Yeah, one of those cool stories. Now you have someplace to go for Thanksgiving next year.
All right, so we're going to the Perez, the 50-year-old.
The Perez.
Yes.
This is
all right.
This is like a Texas 5-year-old. This is like brown.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, but it's dark. So this is. So I turned 50 this year, and I'd love to have bought a 50-year-old whiskey. That wasn't going to happen. And I looked at 225s, and that wasn't going to happen either. Because I was trying to find obviously the exact number, and couldn't find any Armagnacs, and stumbled upon this brandy, which it's truly 50 years old in the bottle, but it was distilled my wife's birth year. She was a couple years older than me, so I was like, well, I got to buy this stuff, and so I bought one with the intent of opening it for the 50th and draining it before the weekend was over, which we did. So then I had to order more because it was only like, that was really good. But no, this is one of the unopened ones, but it's brandy from
Spain?
Go ahead.
Is that
Spain? Yeah.
Yeah. Perez Jimenez. Yeah.
Perez Barquero bottle for Corman Collins, and it was. Let's see, I had the age thing. It
1967.
Distilled in 67, but it was. Let's see, it didn't say how long, but it was aged in Pedro Menace.
Yep.
But no, it's super good brandy. It's really thick.
Julie, that's the same stuff. Not 50 years old, but that's the same stuff that's in the gift thing that I have back in my office that you tried, the 10, the 15, and the 25.
Oh yeah, we haven't tried that yet.
Oh, have you not gotten it? Okay, yeah,
No.
Same stuff, but not 50.
I forgot to bring it home that day. I said I was going to.
This is actually really extremely pleasant to drink. Like, there's nothing up, down. This is just no spiky notes at all. This is just a very pleasant one. And
Does this take some time to open up?
I tell you, I did notice a difference from first open, because I cracked it on my birthday, and then the next day it actually was better. Might have been because I had half of it on my birthday, but it was definitely better. But yeah, I think it opens up a little bit, but again, my memory was a little foggy.
Man, that's big hit of sandalwood on the top there. That's really nice.
And James is saying one of the best brandies he had was in Germany, and I just said that Christy agreed to that. we heard that story before. She agrees completely. I know we're not going to any of those meat Nazi stories. You people stay out of that. It's something that happened before on the show, and we're not going back there.
That was my experience.
Yeah, that was yours. Yeah. I think James said the same thing. We're not going back to that.
No.
This is really nice. So, are you guys thinking of expanding that series with just working on absence to working with other spirits that might not be getting enough attention?
Yeah. So this is just season 1. So season 2, we haven't decided what that's going to be yet, but I think we'll figure it out pretty soon.
We just decided it was mead.
Mm-hmm.
We just decided it was mead.
So you guys are 12 episodes in, and you feel like you've muddied the waters even further, which I love. How many more episodes do you anticipate doing for a whole season? Or is that one of those things where you just keep going, and then when you feel like you've exhausted it, then it's done? Maybe once you get there, you'll know, sort of deal?
So the recordings we've done, we're not really counting those as episodes, because we're going to have multiple recordings within one episode.
Right, but I mean, you guys have interviewed 12 people to talk about it, and so you have obviously quite a bit of material since the way that you're patching things together. Mm-hmm. How many more people do you think, or how many more hours do you guys think that you're going to be recording on Absinthe before you feel like you have enough material to put together your first season of The Veil?
So it wasn't 12 people. So there's been maybe 5 or 6 people. We've had to interview some of them a couple times.
Okay.
Get everything.
Okay.
So probably, Christy, what would you say? Maybe 4 episodes, 5 episodes by the time we edit everything, maybe?
Yeah. Because we still have a few things where we haven't hit enough on certain themes that we wanted to really cover.
Right. Or we find something we didn't know about. Like we stumble into the fact that there were absinthe distilleries in Cuba when absinthe was banned in France and Spain and the Alps. A lot of them moved to South America and Cuba, and then that became a whole rabbit hole. Well, what was the base for that? Was it rum, or was it pisco, or what was the base for it?
So there's a process, but it's open-ended depending on what you find out. If you have another,
did you find one that was based off of pisco?
Yeah, there were several. We haven't talked about them on the show yet, but there were several in Peru and Brazil that were based off of pisco, and apparently there are still some made there that are based off of pisco as well. So.
Because I was there and I don't remember trying it, but I remember that there were some older vintages of the pisco that they had, and I was like, well, the older ones clearly got way more complex, and I thought they could play with it more, but I wasn't into things as much at that point, I should say, with delving outside the lines. Now I probably would have stayed at a couple of distilleries and waited for the bus to come back.
Pisco's an interesting spirit anyways, and especially some of the old vintage Piscos, because they were made out of Muscat. So it's huge and floral and big and round. And then there's another rabbit hole there. So that ties into the absinthe we made at Copper and Kings. It was Muscat based. So all those things, just every time you think something on absinthe, people would think that it's a fairly easy to explain spirit, similar, not that gin is easy to explain, but that it would be similar to gin, but it's not. It just gets more and more confusing. And as Christy and I found out during this too, even talking to producers, talking to our buddy JL Garza, this guy was a part of a underground absinthe club, basically. That he even traveled overseas to go learn about absinthe, and what he basically discovered was you might find a village where they're making absinthe at in the Val de Traverse. They might do certain things certain ways, but even they don't remember why they're doing them that way. So how much of it was actual technical expertise versus how much was done because it was always done that way, versus certain things that are possibly done because it's a ritual to people, or it has some deeper meaning than just production practices. And that's where it gets really fun and interesting, in my opinion.
So you're doing research along the way as well yourselves.
Yeah, it's very much a learning process. I know, Alan, there was that one episode where we said something that was actually incorrect, and it's something that we're going to keep in because it was part of our learning process.
Yeah.
There's a whole curve that people will see from the first episode, from the first interviews through to the last interviews. Because at the same time that we were doing this, I was also working on an absinthe for somebody. And I thought I had a few things figured out that I didn't know shit about. I thought I did. But I want to leave those in there, and I want those to be the things that the show starts with. So people, you have a thing with distillers where nobody ever everybody always acts like when they come up with something that people like, oh, I did that from the get-go. The minute that came off the still, I knew in 4 years it was going to be fantastic. No, you fucking didn't. You're making it up. So let's leave that stuff in and show that that's just part of it.
It's nice because then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's an evolving process or an evolving knowledge. Like I think a lot of things are. And too many people are like, I know it all. And it's like, that's why people who are 80 keep learning shit. You're full of it. Like, there's no way you could know exactly what was going to happen to go down. Even like what barrel you put in can completely change what the fuck's going on with it. So it's
well, it's nice
there's
to
too much
know
boasting.
that you'll let the listener see that you were learning this as you go as well. Because some things are, set up as, like looking back on it, we found yada, yada, yada. But if you keep all of that information and the way, you spoke about something incorrectly, and then you correct yourselves later, I don't know. I think that's organic and it keeps it that way.
And that's what we wanted.
James just has a question.
Are you saying distillers get lucky?
Are you saying distillers get lucky sometimes? Is the question. And the answer to that we know is yes. I've had a couple of distilleries here in my state where I distinctly remember batch 12 from one, and it was awesome, like award winning. It has never reached half that level since, and it's just depressing. Like I don't know what they did, but it was like you should enter this and then just walk away from what you did after this, because that was apparently the high point. Quick question, though, as well. Nathan was wondering, is the wormwood thing poured over sugar cube and strip balls thing a myth?
Yes, it's very much in the myth. So
can we address that?
There's no real green fairy. There's all a tease.
There is a green fairy, but that probably stems from drinking too much absinthe in general, or drinking very bad absinthe that's been colored with copper sulfate, or something of that nature, or mercury. They use mercury sometimes. Really cheap producers did. So, but yeah, you're not gonna trip balls on absinthe. Now there is another absinthe tradition, at least in the U.S., which is to make Green Dragon, which you just take absinthe and macerate marijuana that's been decarbed for about 2 weeks, and then it's a good time.
Did you run it through a still by chance? Have it packed up on the top? Sorry, maybe there's some green goddess that we should have to get these guys.
So when is somebody going to do some mescaline with some absinthe?
There you go. Well, interestingly enough, that's the other project too. Christy and I are working on is the mescaline project. No, but we are playing around with
that's season 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are playing around with this idea. I mentioned the stone beer thing earlier, and this plays into those botanicals and botanical distillations. So Christy, myself, DJ Henderson, Caleb from Sugar Creek Malt, and Brian Cushing from Locust Grove are going to record a little documentary where we go up to Sugar Creek Malt. We make basically a stone beer, which is a beer that is boiled using hot stones, basically in a very Scandinavian way. It's an early farmhouse type of beer. Those beers tended to be filtered through spruce or through juniper of some kind to clear them. And it got us kind of set off on this other path of this high package. We're talking about the different paths that absinthe come from, right? It got us tied into this idea of maybe this is how the early distillers were Irish monks and Scottish monks are actually making the early Scotch whiskey, which is described as Viscovita or Aqua Vitae. It's described as having some of these different botanical characters, but historically it's also been said that they just put botanicals into whiskeys because it was bad whiskey. I don't think that's the case. I think that they were basing their mash on beer recipes that had other botanicals in them, and they would just make a little extra beer, and they thought, well, what can we do with it? We can distill it. So we're going to experiment with that and film that process and actually do a little documentary on that as well. So we'll go up to the Sugar Creek and we'll mash it, go to stone beer, use the spruce and all that stuff, or the red cedar here in Indiana, filter it. We'll distill that, see what comes through on that, and it might take them to like coffee nets and botanicals, so it's very likely just to see
that. Now, just to answer something from the chat, now, Mike, do you remember what the one distiller or producer talked with us about? Did he pack that in like coming down the tube of the pot still? Is that where he packed that in? I'm just wondering because it really wasn't a basket, James.
This was all allegedly.
It's alleged.
It was all allegedly.
Allegedly.
It was a distiller that distills honey, and it's really good.
It's really
and then
good.
He thought, well, I'll try something, and let's do one that's infused a little bit. It's unofficially called the Green Goddess. And when he hand it to you to check out and you smell it, you're like, this smells like ass. It stinks. And it's like, you know what? And it's all allegedly because you can't legally make it.
Skunk. Stinks like the skunk's ass.
Yeah. Some samples happened, but taste wise, it tasted fantastic. It was really good. But he had done that where it had, depending on who you asked, because somebody had asked him, and he's like, "Oh no, this is CBD infused." But it wasn't. That's not. That's not what he did. And he liked to talk about what a great day that was at his still.
So, interestingly enough, marijuana is the closest relative to hops. So they do share a lot of flavor profiles together. But on the mescaline and the talk of hallucinogens here, so the beer thing I just talked about, a lot of the old cultures would actually throw in hallucinogens like mandrake or mushrooms, etc., into those beers, which we're not going to do that, but it's an interesting concept. We're doing that. Now on the marijuana distillation thing, allegedly, the way that one would pull that off would be that you don't hit at a high enough boiling point in the still to actually extract THC. But if your friend allegedly put it on the downslope of the still, and he were to decarboxylize it first, so to activate the THC, the alcohol would then absorb the THC, and it would be the same as making the Green Dragon we talked about. Same idea. Don't ask me how I know that THC doesn't boil on a still. It doesn't matter. It's all alleged.
No one asked.
There's plenty of blogs out there with that information.
We got asked a lot of questions about distilling hallucinogens at Moonshiners
All this
Ball.
stuff going on right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
There were, and these were like dedicated stoners,
right,
who had stills at their house and were trying to figure out what you could distill, how you could distill it.
right.
Is it safe to distill it? I spent like 15 or 20 minutes answering questions about that while we were running that still on the hill.
And half of them ended in, no, you'll blow up your house.
Part of them were like, yes, you can, but you'll probably die because that's also poisonous. So unless you know the dosage, don't be playing around with it. My favorite is sassafras. That's the one you can mess yourself up real quick on that. So especially if you're distilling it.
I was gonna say, didn't I hear someone was trying to use that?
There are a lot of people that do that, and it depends on how it's handled. There's a way to handle it, and you can use it, and it can be safe. And then there are a lot of ways that you can really get yourself in trouble quickly. So,
allegedly, and in theory, for entertainment purposes only. Emily's our legal. She keeps us out of trouble every now and then.
Yeah.
Well played.
The largest sassafras tree in the world is in Owensboro, Kentucky.
And
That's what I have to say about sassafras.
Yeah. Cool.
I really don't know where to go with that. It makes me think you're the one that knows about the sassafras thing. But
let's just play the give me another useless fact game.
Do you want to see George Washington?
I do. Wait. Hold on. Here, I got to move you over. Let's see George Washington.
Ready?
Oh, wow, that's creepy.
What's with his hat? He's wearing an Italian flag.
Yeah.
What?
Giorgio Washington.
That's not George Washington. That's just some random Italian dude.
Oh, here's the Post-its.
Yeah, I like the Post-its.
Open maybe smell the contents.
Maybe
trying to see. There you go. Wait.
Maybe it's like the cordial
Not
from
wine.
Anne of Green Gables when someone
see,
had half a bottle
says-
and destroyed themselves.
1974.
Not wine.
You
Not wine.
know you should definitely try some right now. Just a sip.
You can't open it.
There's got to be a way.
Okay, well, I have arthritis and it's not happening tonight.
I'm sorry. I'm
But
just being
isn't he
careful.
awesome?
Yes, I do like him. I feel like you should change his hat to an American hat or something.
It says
It looks like red wine.
1776 to 1976.
I was gonna say Banfi is a winery in Italy.
Yeah.
I will say that not only is it wearing an Italian hat, but that eagle looks questionable.
It's
Just throwing that out there.
Barsatini is the name on it.
I think we need to get your husband to open that. I'm curious.
I'm going to send you samples. We're going to have an event, right? It's going to be called Not Wine.
Straight piss vinegar.
Yeah, that's.
You won't know
I
until
know
you
what
try
we're
it.
doing.
We can all try it together.
I'm not taking a big drink of
I'm
it.
just
Like,
going to hang out with them now.
should it be like a shot glass? Like,
It'll be
or
like
should it be?
kombucha. Just chug it.
Kombucha. It's probably what it fucking is. It would have exploded by now, but I mean, it's.
I don't know what you gave me, but it cleared me out, Jolie. It's fucking.
Yeah. Maybe he drank the contents and he filled it with something and put dye in it.
That's awesome. Emily's like, he's awesome and terrifying
I mean-
at the same time. He's,
So it also could be like it's dark green glass, right? So maybe it's just like grape juice or water or something. I don't know. I think it is something not wine.
James has said it could be worse than what I sent him, and that's could be accurate. I sent him something that was a distilled IPA beer that over time it got exponentially more aggressive and floral, and it was bad. It was like 6 months later, it was bad. Like I drank it right away. I was like, wow, this isn't too bad. I hate IPA beer and I can drink this. 6 months later, that thing had turned into like some old lady's horrible perfume. It was fucked. It was awful. I'm sorry, it was awful. And you know what? I think I have a sample that I can send someone. I have one left. One lovely fan out there to try that. If I'm ever sending out samples, just remember that can happen. So.
Are you all right over there, Red? Are you good?
No, she's all.
We're looking at Ben's names.
Yeah, James. After he took that sample, he tried to wash it down with horseradish.
Yeah.
Just to feel the taste in his mouth, and he couldn't do it.
Well, James tried like 3 things that stream, and every time he was like, "It's not going away. This is bullshit." It was the last thing we drank, so I didn't feel so bad. But like, it tainted him to like the next afternoon. He said it's great.
My husband had a sausage beer once.
Ooh.
It was disgusting. It was very like we've talked about fat washing and all of that, but this was like drinking liquid smoke beer. It was gross.
Like that's still worse than like a bratwurst and Michelob. I mean, you can do it.
No,
if you have to.
it was really dark. It wasn't anything like even if you soaked a bratwurst in a Michelob, it wouldn't be. I mean, it was like dark brown, almost like a stout of some type. It was gross.
Probably had pig blood in it.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but
I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm throwing it out
is
there.
it? I don't know.
It is a in Croatian sausage. It's called like
Yes.
kielbasa or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
encased with pig's blood.
James was just saying it was pickle juice, horseradish, and hot sauce, and nothing killed it. Aaron brought up a good point. He's like, do you think it might be vinegar inside the bottle coming from Italy, or a balsamic
Inside
vinegar
this bottle?
inside that bottle that can't be opened?
I mean, maybe. I don't know, Aaron. It's not wine. That's what I know. It doesn't say it just once, but twice, in case you missed it the first time.
When I get this, I'm getting a salad with it.
I'm telling you, the one thing I've learned from Distillers Talk and talking to his vinegar maker, and Christy can confirm this, there's a secondary market for balsamic. You might be missing out on some money.
You're saying I can't open it. I've already tried. So I guess we could try and open it. My concern is that what if there's like a dead cork in there? Maybe I can just start like wetting the cork over time. But then I'm going to peel it off and it's going to break and then we're going to be fucked. And then I will have ruined George Washington's head.
That's true, but he looks like he looks full. Like it looks like it's like it's just like a little bit at the head that's not
it
there.
at the top. Yeah. I also think it might be a screw cap.
You can't not open it now.
Yeah.
You have to.
Make
Make
your husband drink it. Pull him in here and have him try the first one.
Don't make my husband do anything.
You should turn it into a
I know I come off like a giant bitch. I'm really very nice.
You should turn it into a social media.
Not
thing
giant.
now.
You're not giant.
Now that you teased everybody with
Thank
it.
you.
You need to talk about it on Instagram and Facebook, and then you do a social media countdown to Christmas Eve, and we all open it together like a gift.
Not wine.
Yep.
Not wine.
I don't know. I'm curious. I want to try it now.
Yeah.
Christy's in.
I'm morbid like that.
Do you think that because, I mean, you can kind of see, right? There's water at the top there. See, there he is. There we go.
Yeah, he's pretty full.
So, but see how dark green he is? Do you think that could be water in there, given the color of the glass? Or do you think it is definitely...
red in there.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But it's not wine.
We can take bets on what it is and give away a prize
I like that.
for whoever's closest.
I like that a lot.
We'll test its pH content.
I'm going to have to ask my husband how he feels about opening it.
Oh, well.
You want me calling? Call him right now.
He threw his back out, so let's let him rest. But
You threw his back out.
okay, maybe. So we're gonna discuss this, and then we'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that. Might be it later this year.
We'll come back to it.
I like that. It's definitely a cool bottle. Like no matter what you say, like my grandma used to collect weird stuff like that too, and I was like, you know what, these are really cool.
It's fucking weird. I mean, it's cool, but it's fucking weird. When Andy's grandpa passed away, we went downstairs into the basement, and there was like this. We were cleaning out the house, and there was this huge, like extra room, and there was just all these empty liquor bottles. All empty. He's got a Maker's Mark bottle that's gold, has a gold dipped cap, and has a silver and gold label on it that has his name on it. That I guess was a program way back when, and he used to be a salesman for a prominent company in town, and so one of his vendors or one of his accounts or something got it for him, but he had two of those. And then we have this huge Chianti container where it's like a little bubble down here, and then the neck is like fucking huge. 2 feet long. Yeah, and it has a little tassel hanging off on it. We went through a lot of them because it was like, we want to keep all of these. But they're empty bottles, and so Andy picked out the coolest ones, and also not wine. I mean, not like this isn't cool, but not wine is hilarious. So yeah, there's some good ones. Maybe I should do an empty bottle series.
So about that sassafras tree.
It's huge. I hugged it.
How tall?
And you could not. You can look it up. It's on Google. I don't know how tall it is. I don't know the fucking dimensions. What? I just know it's the biggest one.
I just hugged it. It's okay.
I did. I could not. You know what? I feel like you're making fun of me now. I'm gonna look up how tall this fucking sassafras tree is.
I'm not trying to make fun of anyone.
I'm bringing in my only friend.
When I went to California with Copper and Kings, I went out to Kings Canyon, and I'd never seen a redwood, right? Because I'm a dumbass hillbilly from Pekin, so I have to go see a redwood, right? And so I've got my smartphone. I'm walking around. I'm like, how the fuck do I take a picture of me with the tree? And I'm like looking at this thing, like, I can't get like in there in any way, shape, or form. And I finally look around. I'm like, somebody's gonna see my dumbass. And as I looked around, I realized that I wasn't the only person not from California there. There was no one from California there because every other dumbass in the crowd was doing the same thing. All of them. Just everybody just trying to figure out how do you frame this and get the whole tree and your head.
Don't worry, there's dumb people like that in Hollywood too.
Mm-hmm.
Surely not.
They don't have to be in a fucking forest.
Right.
Oh, that's right. You guys didn't even. We were going to talk about the Driftless Glen we had, but apparently they drank theirs. So I'm the only one that has Driftless Glen one.
Yeah. It's worth picking up.
Surprisingly.
If you see it, buy it. It's pretty good.
Surprisingly bright.
It says it's 21 feet in diameter. Or circumference.
Oh,
so...
we're past that. We're not talking about that anymore.
Well, I'm just reporting back on my homework, so you can go fuck yourself. It's between 250 and 300 years old.
It's 100 feet tall.
It's 60 feet tall.
And so does the bark. Is that what you're putting in your stuff that's going to screw people up? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, is that the leaves, or is it a whole different plant?
I have no idea. I don't play with.
I wasn't asking you, Patty. I was asking the distiller.
Jesus Christ!
He held up.
Damn.
Reverend
That's
held
his
up for a
name on
second.
his screen. I didn't call
Also,
him that.
it
He
is
called himself
today.
that.
Also, Mike and Pat, I would just like to point out to the two of you that I told Red to send you samples of that absinthe, and you know what she said? Fuck those guys.
That's totally fair.
Oh,
That's fair.
yeah, that's totally fair.
That's fine. We're not those people that are like, hey, can you come on the show and send us everything you have? That would be awesome. There's someone that we just talked to that like expected that, and I was like, no, I just asked if you wanted to come on the show. You have a nice story, and we can tell the background. We don't even have to care about that stuff.
But we'll get back to you.
Right.
But if you want to send us samples,
So do you want me on? We'll think about it. This was your first interview.
you've been bumped back a month. That's all I'm saying.
Could be like other podcasts where the guy just gets completely day drunk before you go on the podcast, and you got to cut him down 15 minutes into it. It'd be a day.
Experience with that,
God.
Alan?
That's why we start at night. Alan.
Yes!
Yeah.
You guys!
We're all legally
It was
okay
the
to be
worst
drunk by 8, 9
podcast of
o'clock.
all time.
Wait, I'm guessing we're not getting a name, but someone was tore up by noon or 1 o'clock when you did a review show with them.
It was night, but they were
Yeah, it was
they were-
night. They were drunk
they
when
were-
they came on.
drunk when they came on.
And
they were like
Alan
15
ended the
minutes late.
interview in a not very nice way because they were.
Are you not going to let them speak? Because I understand that as you being you, Jolie, that you might tell them that's not okay.
No, it was live streaming to YouTube, and they took it down. It was bad.
Oh,
It was bad. They called me a
Okay.
whore.
okay.
It was not good.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, that's gonna be an after stream.
And then
statement.
essentially told me to shut the fuck up.
Oh,
Alrighty.
and here we thought we stepped over the line with horror
No.
forward. For,
So then at that point, Alan was like, "You're a dick. We're done."
All right.
Wow. Okay. You know what? Anyone in the chat, if you guess who that is, and we'll tell you next week.
You will not
You
get
would-
samples of the absinthe.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you might get a sample for me because that's a pretty good guess if you can peg who that is. I'm intrigued.
I don't think that they're important enough that anybody will figure it out. To be
Right.
honest,
Yeah, and that's probably why.
right.
Because we found out we weren't the only ones that they had been drunk on a podcast with. So I don't know.
You mean like starting it off and they're pretty tore up because
Yeah.
we've gotten a little
Yeah,
tore
I
up on
mean-
the show, but no one's been.
Murray.
Like they start
guess.
off immediately with like drunk asshole at the bar. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
That's where it starts at, and like we gave them a little time because we thought that maybe they were playing characters.
No.
No.
It wasn't fucking Jim Murray. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, we
You
thought
guys
maybe
gotta
it was
love
like a shtick that we weren't getting at first. And I'm like,
No.
what's happening? I think I even asked that at one point. What's happening here?
Yeah.
We thought we were in trouble with once Mike did his Larry Bird thing 5 seconds into our first interview, and you didn't yell at us. I was like, I think we're over. And
Yeah,
I really, she didn't shut off us. She didn't click off of us right away, and she warned us before the chat not to do that.
There was a good 10 seconds of silence, though.
Right? Yeah. No, I mean that is also the other thing, right? Like we're not serious. And I don't know, I just feel like there's a time to have fun, there's a time to be serious. They slammed Maddie Gladden in two gulps and then moved on to a Wilderness Trail bottle. It was not a good it was not a good experience.
Evening. Yeah, that's fair. It's not a good evening. But sometimes, and this is just sometimes, it's nice to treat people like that, like crap too. After they've been shitty to you, it feels good to turn the tables for like 2 seconds.
I wish that I had video of Alan fucking going off on this guy. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
You have a good Full Metal Jacket moment there.
He had the what do you call that speech?
The big boy speech.
The big boy speech. He was like, "You're gonna fucking wake up tomorrow morning and realize that you fucked up."
It's legitimately the same speech that I gave this group of kids that were at the Chinese restaurant one time. They were making fun of the lady that was obviously, she runs the Chinese restaurant. She doesn't speak English. And so they were sitting behind us and doing it the entire time that we were eating. And I waited until I got done, and I told Kim, I was like, go on out to the car. And I stood at the end of the table and gave them the same speech out loud in the Chinese restaurant. And it did feel good because it was super dicky and mean, but deserved. So It was fun. I enjoyed it. And I did give this guy.
I also enjoyed it.
Yes. Yeah, I gave the guy on, don't fuck up my lo mein noodles, all right? Don't mess with my fucking experience.
We had my brother-in-law was up in he was at a basketball tournament, and there was a group of kids at a Burger King who got wild, ended up throwing a shake and hitting some old lady who was going to a funeral that day. So the cops showed up and were like, do you know where to find these guys? And everyone was acting stupid, and my brother-in-law is sitting in the corner. He's like, well, Barney Fife, they all had bracelets to play at the Gus Macker tournament. Chances are they're over there, and they're 18 to this. You can find what court they're playing at, Fife. And that didn't apparently go over too well in Burger King right away in the morning. But he said it felt nice to say. I'm like, well, I would agree when someone acts like you can't do anything, and it's like, well, step one is looking.
Right. But I was 18. There was of course, I grew up, in this little small town, so everybody knows everybody. And being on the fire department, Dad being on the fire department, we knew all the police, right? So I'd give them a hard time, they'd give me a hard time or whatever. But there's one in particular, and if I see him, I still give him shit. But we would pick on each other back and forth, whatever. And long story short, we walked into Taco Bell one night, and he was sitting in Taco Bell, and like the first thing out of my mouth was, "Oh, I didn't know they served pork tacos at Taco Bell," right? And just being a smart ass. And of course, he's with all of his buddies. So instead of playing along with it, what's he do? He does the slam his fist on the table maneuver, jump up from the table, and comes at me, right? And then just takes me to the ground, puts the handcuffs on me, the whole thing, and then marches me outside without saying anything to anybody. And then when he gets me outside, he's like, "What'd you learn, dumbass?" And then he pulled us over at like 3:00 in the morning on top of that. So that was so.
That part sucks. I was gonna be like, not to come here for Burger King at 9:00. Jesus.
Right.
I am almost through most of these. Mike, Ben, what do you have left? Have you tried anything? Do you have anything left you haven't poured in a glass yet tonight?
Well, right now, since you were sipping on the the Driftless Glen, I was trying the Calvados that I did some barrel aging with.
Oh, okay.
Little barrel experiment with. But I think you had finished that one off earlier, right, Patty?
Yeah, I drank when we did the review of it. I drank the rest of it. I need those 2-ounce bottles back. You know, I mean, you gotta turn those around somehow.
Is this the Berneroy that you put in after the White Dog?
Well, it wasn't. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have 2 different ones to try. So.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna move on because I don't have that one to the 1996 Armagnac, the 23-year-old, just because I needed. I don't know. I was running out of brandies. I need something different, fun to try before we take off this evening. Oddly enough, this smell is all too similar. That just means I'm 6 drinks in. Sorry, everyone. That's part of the problem with that. It's starting to blend together. But no, I think we're getting close here. We're almost 2 hours in. We can let you guys go back to having your normal life. You spent all day at that event, so I find that yes, James, Armagnac is a brandy.
I was on a boat today.
You were on a what?
You were on a boat in Deji World.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was amazing. So,
how was the Tyler Boone concert? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to ask that question without
just
saying
segue,
names.
just straight segue.
Yeah.
We didn't see the Tyler Boone concert, but we did say hi to him.
That's nice.
I did go talk to him after you left, by the way, and I told him that you would be super disappointed that you didn't get a chance to really meet him.
Yeah.
Because you're a huge fan. I might have also have PM'd him and gave him your physical mailing address.
You dared.
I'm sure Tyler Boone's gonna get right on that.
You dared PM an international music star like that? I don't know who you think you are.
First of all, I PM fucking people all the time. I'm like, your Netflix special was awesome. They don't write back, but I mean, it doesn't take anything to shoot a quick message.
Also, if you have celebrity friends, that's unfortunate for any of you, because what we will do is if it's somebody that we like, we will just harass you until we get their address so we can send them bottles on the off chance that they might post something flattering about them.
Right? Right? That's what happened with Emerson Hart. Just saying. Dude's fucking cool. Hey, Andy gives the thumbs up on Not Wine Countdown.
Nice. I heard that. Ian, I heard that Scott Ian from Anthrax is actually next on that list, so it's not all bad for sure. Nice. That's one step closer to Megadeth Brandy happening.
It's happening. We're so excited.
Hey, once you see Gore starting to do shit, I feel like the doors are open for anybody. That's all I'm saying. Like, I am kind of excited to see that one, but I have to say I was taken back that they were doing one. I wasn't expecting that.
And with I'm just saying that I think of all people.
Yeah.
I think that Megadeth Brandy is in the ballpark, and here's what I'll say. If I keep saying it for long enough, around enough people, someone who knows Dave Mustaine is going to say that shit to him, and I'm going to give them some advice on my behalf to say to Dave to make this happen. Just say, Dave, Metallica fucking kicked you out years ago. You're still obviously not over it. They have a fucking whiskey. Why wouldn't you do a brandy? You have a vineyard. Make this shit happen, right? And then Dave's going to be all over it. It's going to be a whole thing.
We should send our stuff to Zach Wild, and then we'll be even more there.
Same thing with Maynard. You've got a freaking winery,
remember
man.
Me? Yeah, that was me.
Yep.
Texting Zach Wild. Hey, remember me from back in the way back when? Can I send you some bourbon?
I don't know
what the weirdest thing is you might be like, I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, give it a whirl. You know?
Oh, Alan and I have a whole list of people we want to send stuff to.
Yes, we have ones that are logical that we think will work, and then there's the dream list. So on the logical side, Anthrax probably. We'll see what happens there. Mm-hmm. But definitely Eagles of Death Metal is happening. There should be enough connections between Jolie and I to them to make that happen and be a thing.
That would be awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
There's got to be.
Yeah, there has to be.
Right.
I mean, surely one of them went to Will Sharp High School.
You never know. You never know.
I feel like you know the answer to this question.
Hey, Eagles of Death Metal, that's just a step over to Pussifer, and then you're right there with Maynard. So,
yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Get with it.
I've heard that Maynard has some empty barrels with a certain company, but I won't say what company that is because I don't think it's announced. So, it shouldn't be a big step for anybody.
Sorry, Nathan, I didn't see that sooner. He wants to see a Kenny G whiskey. Would it be sourced from Canada?
That's funny. And watered down.
40% max.
That's right.
Would it be called Muzak?
Oh my god. I'd like to just touch his hair one time, like just scrunch it. Just scrunch it. Just one fucking time in my life. Is it hard? Is it crusty? Is it like 90s like hairspray crunchy? Or is it like soft and luxurious? Is it like what's that?
You got
the big ball thing and the stuff on the side.
Yeah. You got to break that down to the logical, illogical, right? So maybe not him, but you might be able to get Weird Al.
We have a friend that looks like Weird Al, so we could definitely make a video, and it would be damn close.
One time, Weird Al and I were in the same movie theater watching the same movie at the same time. So maybe I could start with that.
Yay. Did you ever see the dude that yeah, you did. The Joe Dirt guy over at the hotel.
Oh yeah, that guy used to come into Wings and Rings all the time. I've seen that dude like fucking close up. I've sat down in a booth and had a conversation with him, and he is super nice. But I mean, you know, he's made that his life mission. So
yeah, this dude dresses like Joe Dirt every day on purpose and looks like Joe Dirt to a T. To the extent that David Spade has actually came to meet him.
He posts posts of him all the time.
Yeah.
He looks exactly like him every day of his life.
Emily's putting you in charge after this, Jolie. Apparently, you're supposed to be in charge of the show.
I got a headache, so that shit ain't happening, Emily. Sorry. You try to think you can control this shit show. I'm just as big of a part of that shit show as anyone else.
This is a straight up manure spreader. It's going everywhere.
That's all right.
That's right.
Let's put George Washington in charge. We have the first president is in charge. He's not drinking, not wine.
Not wine.
I mean, this was the badass Brandy stream. We're about 2 hours in, and how much time have we actually talked about Brandy?
I know.
I drank all of it. No,
we briefly have gone over some.
We've drank it.
I'm down
that's
to a blend of all the ones that have opened.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
That.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Infinity Brandy.
I was just gonna say that.
I mean, pretty much every show we have a dump glass, but it's really nice.
That's all right. That's exactly what Copper and King's marketing strategy was.
I love how much you enjoy that place. It's just...
But it's still
Jolie's face is even better when he says shit like that.
You're welcome, Red.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bishop.
Just a disdain and the fact, like, I have to clean this up in the morning. God damn it. If anyone ever asks, they're going to ask me about it. Fuck.
It's true.
Yeah, that is true.
I apologize to you, not to them.
I was going to say, no, you don't.
Copper and King's calling me to leave tomorrow. Well, and I'm not to say the bad things.
Right. Well, you know, at this point, the person who would have put a hit out on me no longer works there, so I think we're okay. So,
do they work someplace else?
Not yet. Well,
or are they out of the industry entirely?
Let's go after George Washington.
Okay. All right.
I'll need to yell, stop fucking encouraging him.
That's what we do here. We encourage people to make good decisions throughout the show. But I think Ben was right. We're probably coming up on 2 hours. That's probably good for this evening. I should should probably get back to stuff. And I said I would share some of this with my wife, so I am going to let her taste some of these before I have them. Because she's not as big a whiskey person. She'll smell them, but she doesn't find them overly intriguing. So every now and then you got to share the right stuff with the right people. So that's what I'm going to do with the rest of tonight before tomorrow. So I want to thank all of you for showing up tonight. You did not have to. Christy, thanks for stopping in, though. You had no idea what the fuck you're walking into, and we appreciate that.
She knew exactly what I'm getting into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
she knew.
Next time, feel free to throw more disparaging stuff on people or the fire. Stir the pot like everyone does here for like 10 seconds, and then we pretend we didn't do it. Or blame it on someone else. It was Mike's fault. We went down that path.
It's methodology. You walk in, you mic drop, you walk out, and never talk about it again.
That's right.
It is. But coming up this Monday, for those of you still in the chat and watching later on, we're having Gary from Woodhead on. We're going to do a cordials for Christmas stream. We're going to go over the berry, the black walnut liqueur, and the one I'm the most excited about, persimmon cordial, just because I'll be honest, I didn't know what the fuck a persimmon was for a while. And until he told me, and I went to the store and bought one. I tried it. I'm just saying, like, there was a bit there where I was like, I don't quite know what this is or what the flavor profile is when I go into it. So I got to get a little bit more in depth with that. And for those of you who have not seen it or not done it, we're going to welcome everyone to it. If you guys at Distillers Talk want to do it, feel free. We don't want to pressure anyone who doesn't have the time, but we did challenge some people to the 5 Whiskeys for Festivus challenge. You do know the rules for that. We have them. They're in the chat. This is the original one. If you don't see it, you can click on it, get caught up. Some of you feel free to add to that, and you could win some free craft whiskeys, which we're going to put out to those who have the best videos or actually best list. You know what? We're honest. We can be swayed by other things. You know, it happens. But
is there an airing of grievances during that?
Oh, there is.
Yes.
That's Alan, we got to get in on that shit.
That's actually
you just made the face at me when I aired grievances. So I'm done. They're out of my system.
The airing.
I air my grievances on the mashup, so I feel like I can,
The airing of grievances isn't supposed to be horrible. It's supposed to be what you would serve to people.
Freeing.
That would clear the air after that shit happened at the dinner table. You got to think of something that would fix the situation that just occurred.
I'll get drunk enough by Christmas. I'll just make a Facebook video of that. It's coming. It's coming.
You have to curtail him, Jolie. That is not my thing. And his video will probably do well. That's because it will be like this. He'll be like this when he's giving the whole discussion.
He's an elf hat. Be like, Merry fucking Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Go fuck yourselves.
But we want to thank each of you for coming on. Like we were saying, Christy, do you want to go over some of the stuff that you guys have going on at the ABV Network? Because that is where your shows are at the checkout. What are the names of it and what's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot going on at the ABV Network. We're always doing virtual events. There's an event every single week, so feel free to check out on there. And then, of course, please check out Alan and myself on Distillers Talk.
Excellent.
Yeah, and the new show, by the way, we don't know for sure. We'll probably YouTube platform that, but that will be an entirely independent thing. So
yes, this is separate.
You don't have to change it, Jolie. You can have that disappointed look on your face. It's fair. We accept it.
She has that look every day that she has to wake up and deal with my dumb ass work. Sure. She also should just change her ringtone when I'm calling her to "What the fuck did you do and why did you do it?"
That is awesome.
Oh God.
But remember, it's not the size of the den that matters, everyone out there. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everybody. Or Brandy.
Cheers.
I guess Brandy today. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Have it.